How about Oklahoma? Oklahoma Sooners in a very interesting position heading into year 2 of the Brent Venables era. But guess where they head after this season? Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. The SEC. So this is actually a very pivotal year for Oklahoma, even though it is only year 2 and they're still trying to figure out their identity, or rather they were last year. Brent Venables only his second year as a head coach. Stakes are pretty high in Norman. And to be fair, Oklahoma's got the personnel to do it, I believe, in terms of making a big jump forward. And one of those guys that I think will be responsible for that big jump forward and honestly their success well into the future is quarterback Jackson Arnold. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I'm predicting in this spring game, on my notes, I have it, we see Jackson Arnold rip it. That's just what it says. No, I don't have a stat down. I don't have like a touchdown count number or a yard count number. I just think we turn on the tape, we watch the 5-star quarterback, Jackson Arnold, playing at a high level of high school football in the state of Texas. I think we see him flash multiple times. And there's going to be some part of the crowd here that's going to start chanting for him after Dillon Gabriel throws his first interception of the season. I would say, all right, chill out, that's fine. The more reasonable part of the crowd is going to say, okay, if that's what we're working with when he's been through 14 practices, and that's the ability we're seeing, that's how he fits in this offense, that's what the future looks like, okay. You start rubbing your hands together, and you feel very excited about what's to come in Norman. I think the best case scenario for Oklahoma, quite frankly, is that Dillon Gabriel plays the duration of this year, because that means that he took another step forward under Jeff Lebby's offense, and you feel good about that. But Jackson Arnold, do not get it twisted. He is the future at Oklahoma, and he's going to lead them into the SEC. He will be your quarterback when you take your first snaps in the SEC. That's a very big deal. No doubt. That's a very big deal. But in this game, like I said, I just think we see him flash. I think you have a couple of plays that probably circulate Twitter, and I'll be one of them that tweets them out, so follow me at JD Piquel. But you just see, wow, okay, that's why he's a 5-star. Wow, he's only a freshman, and he made that throw. He's going to have a couple of jaw-drop moments. Much like Nico Iamaleava did at Tennessee last weekend, I think we may see that, maybe even more so with Jackson Arnold, depending on how many reps he gets and how much they let him cut it loose. Quarterback-friendly system. It's going to go as the quarterback goes, but Jackson Arnold, I think, will have a very good day in the Oklahoma spring game. All right, now make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. All that. We appreciate y'all at JD Piquel. Won't waste too much more time, but just make sure you're locked in here, all right? We appreciate that. It's time for college football, man. There's no more time to be wasted. Even though it's spring ball, the season's right around the corner. Want y'all part of this, all right? Now, I also think in terms of the predictions for Oklahoma, I think we see a notable change in the team speed on the defensive side of the ball. Because remember, what happened last year, man? Oklahoma was not up to par by any stretch of the imagination. That was not a Brent Venables defense that we saw a year ago. They allowed 30 points a game. Thing that I'm watching, though, as I start piecing together what this lineup could look like, is a lot of guys straight up that can just run at positions that you don't necessarily always think guys should be able to run at, if that makes sense. Like Jaron Kanik is a track guy. He's running low 10s, I believe, in the 100 meters out of high school. He's playing linebacker for you. Will likely start in the middle for you at linebacker next to Stutzman. At that cheetah position, which is kind of a hybrid edge/linebacker spot, they got the transfer from Indiana who's battling for that spot right now. I believe he'll win it. Deshaun McCullough. He's a guy that can run too. He's explosive. He's versatile. It's one of the things that made him so highly ranked in a lot of these transfer portal rankings. I believe he was a top 10 player for us in our transfer portal rankings. You're going to see this defense just run quicker, sideline to sideline. They're going to eat up angles quicker. They're going to read and react quicker. Again, it's not an absolute, it's a temperature, but when you're watching just straight up how this operation responds, I really believe this team's going to be faster on the defensive side of the ball based off of personnel. And also, you and I have talked about this at length, but Brent Venables went into the portal postseason and said, I want 5 defensive linemen. I don't know if he actually said that out loud, but by nature of who they acquired, 5 defensive linemen, if you count Deshaun McCullough as a defensive lineman. The reason why that's important, that just shows the self-awareness. Hey, we're not good enough in the trenches based on what I saw last year. What I know that I have in my locker room, we're not good enough right now. Let's go get better. He saw what he had in the fridge, and he saw what the recipe was because he's been there, to be clear. He's won national titles before. He knows what's expected, saw the expectation, saw the recipe, and said, we got to get better ingredients. Goes to the portal, treats it like it's Publix, goes and get 5 defensive linemen. Curious to see how that looks in the spring game, but the bottom line is it's going to be a better product, and I think the eye test is past the flying colors this coming Saturday. So it'll be more like an SEC defense is what I'm trying to tell you. Now, here's one of the more curious things we got to watch for in this spring football game. What's the temperature when it comes to the wide receiver room? Because this offense under Jeff Lebby, it's pretty similar to what Josh Heupel did at Tennessee in the fact that we're going to go fast, we're going to run the football, we're going to spread our wide receivers out, and wide receivers, we're going to put you on an island, go win one-on-one, we'll have a touchdown for you. Because those safeties, they can't run the entire 53.3 yards width of the field. It's impossible to cover that much. That's a lot of grass to cover. And so if you win outside, if you have guys that can win for you, you're going to be in good position to score a whole lot of points. And like I said, I've been on record here. I think Oklahoma has the best quarterback room in the Big 12 for now, until we reevaluate that in the future. Best quarterback room in the Big 12, with Dillon Gabriel being your QB1. So Jaleel Farouk, I think it's one of those guys that we watch in this spring. I think it needs to be his year. Had a solid year last year, right around 400-plus yards, 5 touchdowns. He had a good year. He needs to be that guy this coming year. He needs to be wide receiver 1. And if it's not him, I think Andrel Anthony, the Michigan transfer, I'm very curious to see what he does because they are very excited about him during spring ball right now. The guy can run like the wind. 2 guys that I think they're going to look forward to make an impact on the vertical pass game. Like I said, we're going to run the football. That's going to be the first thing we do. We're going to get this defense off balance, make them tired, then you go win. That's what this whole thing is built upon. And what I'm watching in this spring game, especially with those guys, I don't need to see the 70-yard touchdown. That'd be nice. Don't get it twisted. I would love to see a few bombs dropped by my boy Jackson Arnold and Dillon Gabriel and see these guys catching it. That'd be awesome. I just want to see if it's there. Are we separating from these defensive backs? We can fine-tune catching the football. We can get you on the jugs and work on that. We can fine-tune timing. Andrel Anthony, you've been on campus for a very short period of time. We'll get after practice. We'll run some more routes. We'll watch tape. We can fine-tune all of that. We'll be ready for that in the fall. Are we separating from these DBs? That's what I want to see, even if they don't get the football. Even if it's a running play and we got man-on-man on the outside, I just want to see them separate from the defensive backs. That's what I want to mean, because that would mean that it's there. That would just mean that, okay, we have guys that can separate. That means those plays are going to be there when it's crunch time, when we need it in the fall. So excited to watch that, but that's really what I'm watching for in this spring game. Again, I'm calling my shot. I think Jackson Arnold has a phenomenal spring game. What that looks like, I don't know. But he's going to flash in this spring game. We're all going to leave saying, okay, that's why he's a 5-star. That makes a lot of sense. Also, noticeable change on defense in terms of team speed, taking more steps towards being what an SEC defense is going to need to look like. I don't think you get 100% absolute certainty of how good your defense is going to be in the spring game. Nobody does. But I think it's a really positive jump forward from what we saw a season ago. In the wide receiver room, somebody separate, right? That's what it's all about. Get open. We'll work on the other stuff later. Can you get open? Watching that in the spring game. So Oklahoma, man, they're in a very curious position because what they do this coming season will determine their jumping off point into the SEC. And the jumping off point, quite frankly, is going to determine a lot of what they do when it comes to the recruiting landscape as well. If I'm a high school recruit, Oklahoma wins 10 games this past year, they play for a Big 12 title, whether they win it or not, I'm saying, okay, I like the direction of this thing. And that's only year 2. Yeah, I'll go play with Brent Venables. Yeah, I could do that. I could be convinced to go play with him. And if they win 6 games, which again, Oklahoma fans, y'all hate when I talk about this, so I apologize in advance. If you were to have a similar year to last year, then if you're on the recruiting trail and you're an Oklahoma coach, you're trying to make excuses. You're trying to say, well, we need you to be a part of it. Well, we're not here. We don't have this personnel. We don't have that personnel. As a recruit, I'm saying that's a risk that I don't know I want to take. But for Oklahoma, spring game will be a whole lot of fun to watch.